Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome yet again to this episode of Lunch Guide. My name is Chef Andy, and today we're going to be making something really interesting on a series of ongoing episodes where we're going to be showing you 10 ways with rice, and we're going to be just mixing up a couple of influences and backgrounds, particularly even with this dish, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. So without further ado, we're going to proceed to introduce our ingredients. Sorry. Just to start us off at the front, we've got some beautiful tomatoes and some 2-color onions. I've also got some 2 red and green peppers. I've also got some cooked rice here, a bit of olive oil, also a bit of some grated cheese and a bit of salt and some ground black peppercorns, as well as some cooked mince. I've also got 1 piece of egg, a bit of some coriander, 2 pieces of lemon there, some parsley, and lastly some garlic and some tomato salsa. So we're just going to take a break now and let you refresh and get ready for the show. And for those of you who will be taking notes, particularly for this recipe, please, this is your time for you to grab your pens and papers. And when we come back, we're just going to go and dive right into it. So please don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are just tuning in, we were just introducing the dish of the day, which is a Southwestern rice and pepper, stuffed pepper. And you're basically now going to be able to see how it's done, very, very simply. So we're going to start off by preparing some of the condiments that we'll be using for this dish. And to start us off, we'll start by chopping 1 red onion. So medium to large size, any size would do really well. Proceed to chop that to very, very fine cubes. Once you're done, proceed to grab your white onion and also chop just half of your piece. Of course, once more making sure to make it as fine as you can. Alright, so once that's done, just grab a bowl and proceed to add your onions to the bowl. Once that's in there, proceed once more to grab just 1 of your tomatoes and just very, very easily with a very sharp knife, smallest one you have, turn your tomato to have the root end at the bottom of to the side of the board, of course, and the other end of the tomato facing towards you, and just proceed from the top and proceed to peel as much of that skin layer as you can, trying of course to make sure not to actually cut through the inner membrane of the tomato. And then just proceed to go around, because for this particular process we're only going to use the more fleshier part of the tomato, and we're not going to require the soft flesh nor the seeds. So once that's done, just proceed to just discard the rest and simply proceed to just julienne those. Make them fairly thin and proceed to do the same thing to the very end. And once that's done, turn them about 90 degrees and proceed to cut them into very small cubes. Of course, trying to replicate the same size that you had with the onion cubes that you did earlier. Remember, this is particularly very important because you are going to be making a stuffing and very importantly to make sure that everything cooks the same temperature and cooks exactly the same way. It's normally important to try and keep everything exactly the same way. So we're just going to chop every single bit of the vegetables going into our mixture exactly the same size. Right, once your tomatoes are done, just grab those and move them into your bowl. And very simply just proceed to grab some of your parsley and some of your coriander and proceed to begin to chop that as fine as you possibly can. And that goes right into your bowl as well. Now all you're going to do at this stage is grab a spoon and just proceed to start mixing everything together as you continue. This always actually gives you quite a bit of an advantage to be able to tell the ratios of your vegetables. And it also just basically starts to give you an idea of what your salsa and everything else combining into that will look like. Right, so now you've got most of your veggies in there. So proceed now to add your tomato salsa. So that's about 2 tablespoons. So basically the tomato salsa we're using was pre-done early in the show. Very simply just cook down some tomatoes, some onions, garlic and ginger and your seasoning of choice, of course with an option to have chili or no chili. And basically just cook it down. Soon as it's nice and thick, blend it for a few seconds and all you get is that beautiful yellow paste. And of course always add just a little bit of oil. It'll always break the texture as well. Now next up we're going to add some of the cooked mince we had. So that's about 3 to 4 tablespoons of some cooked mince. So quite a very good option for those of you who may have some mince just laying around in your fridge. This is a very, very good way to get rid of that. Next up, crack in 1 whole egg. And once again proceed to mix everything together. And what you should actually start to expect now is a very kind of eggy mixture. It should actually really start to get also the aromas coming through as soon as you throw your mincemeat in there. And remember, very importantly as well, please don't attempt to mix raw vegetables with freshly cooked meat that's still hot. It will actually give your food quite a tainty taste and it's going to actually ruin the texture of the food in general. So always proceed to actually cool the mince before mixing it into any of these mixtures, because it could actually also cook your eggs while making your vegetables very soggy and not crispy like they should be. So proceed to mix that, and once you got into a nice beautiful consistency that's almost like a wet meatball can actually be able to hold, just make a nice small well in the center of your dish and proceed to add your grated cheese. I'm using cheddar for this particular recipe, but you can actually substitute it with any particular mature hard cheeses you may find, which would include anything in relation to cheddar. So anything young cheddar to old cheddar to basically the options are up to you. Next up, proceed to add your rice. So this is just plain steamed rice. Also another good option to use to stuff your peppers in case you have some minced meat or not. Proceed to mix that once more. Right, so once that's nice and mixed, never also forget to season your stuffing. So give quite a nice generous serving of a bit of some freshly grated black peppercorns. Now proceed to add everything together once more. Very important to actually proceed to mix your mixture continuously. Remember, it always just gives your mixture a fresher feel, and it actually just continues to really get your flavors working all the way to the bottom of the bowl and around the bowl. Once that's done, just proceed to just scoop everything to the bottom or the center of the bowl, making sure to scoop everything that's on the sides. And basically all you need to do at this stage is allow your mixture to rest just on the side of the table. No need to refrigerate. And next up, of course, being a stuffed pepper dish, you will require some peppers that are still whole. So very, very simply, using a small knife, proceed to core from the top, and always just place your peppers on the table. Always make sure to try and get a balance. You may actually find some peppers that won't sit straight. Very, very simple trick to fix that. Just turn the pepper around, and if you can manage to just basically try and even out the most flattest part of your pepper from the bottom, cutting completely straight and turn it around, your pepper could actually stand up really, really straight. So we're just going to even that off a little bit, and that should do. And next, all you're going to do now is proceed to core the pepper right from the top. Of course, being very careful not to cut yourself. And once you've got that beautiful little lid there, just lift that and don't actually discard that. All you're going to do is just kind of chop that little bit of flesh from the core and reserve that on the side, and proceed to just use your hands to get out that white membrane. Remember, that's a very, very bitter part of the pepper, and that's not something you really want to taste. So once cored, proceed to do the same thing for the other piece. Of course, going right around the top, not being too far out and not being too much into the center, because remember, you are going to use this like a little lid. And just gently use your knife to just detach that from the inside, and it should actually just slide out as it's done. And then just proceed once more to cut that little speck of flesh there, and just discard that. And next up, proceed to just shake your pepper against your bowl. Just shake those seeds out, and then proceed with your fingertips once more to remove the flesh. Of course, always making sure that you actually take out as much seeds, and actually all the seeds that may be in there, and just simply just grab your peppers and rinse them really quickly in some running water. And at this stage, you can just turn them against a board or just put them on a plate on the side and just allow that water to just run off. Now next up, we're going to actually proceed to stuff them. I'm just going to discard some of those last bit of seeds. Very important as well to keep your board clean at all times. Right, now we're just going to proceed straight into filling our peppers. We're going to clear up some of the items on our counter as well. And now, very, very simply, very simple technique of doing that. So start off by just grabbing a piece of lemon and just cut that almost you cut it lengthways, but just almost off the center. You're only looking for that little bit of lemon flesh on the side. Turn your lemon around and do the same thing. So your knife should actually be sitting anywhere about a quarter centimeter just off the center of the lemon. And this actually makes it easy for you to actually cut some flesh out from the sides of the lemon and actually having them with no seeds, having you leaving the seeds right in the center, and just reserve that for later. And now proceed to grab your peppers, using of course some kitchen towel or even some napkins. Just run inside the peppers and try and also pat dry as much water as you can. Simple as that. And now all you're going to do is proceed to fill your peppers. So just grab a spoon and just using a small spoon proceed to add your filling. Of course, making sure to pat the filling down as you proceed to fill. And just fill and proceed to press the mixture down as you go around the pepper. And of course, making sure not to fill up too much. Remember, you are going to be covering that with a bit of a pepper slice there. So be sure to leave just a little bit of space. I normally use just my finger to measure, and it should be about half the length of your tip of your index finger. And then just proceed also to just press it sideways, making sure to have your pepper as completely stuffed as you possibly can. Just take a bit of time doing so. Remember, it will actually influence how good your dish comes out once it's cooked. And just as soon as you get almost to the very top, you should actually just be able to just almost get, you should actually be about 1 spoon away from filling it right to the very top. Once you get that far, just reserve that and proceed to do the same thing for your other piece. Of course, once more, making sure to press down your mixture as you continue to fill your peppers. And go around continuously, getting all the way to the very top. And for some of you who actually may be curious as to where this recipe comes from, this is just a couple of very, very simple techniques that we are going to be showcasing on these episodes to come. And they're just going to giving you some hints of things to do with rice or things to do with the leftovers in your fridge, but rice being a particular dish, the particular ingredient in most of them. So proceed to fill your pepper. And just as soon as you get to the very top, take some time and proceed to finally press down your whole mixture. And once you're done, you can reserve the rest of your mixture. And now get to the last and final stage where we're going to actually just place our lids on our peppers. And simple as that, you're just going to place that right over the top, and the same thing for the green pepper. But this is not actually going to be cooked as it is. We're actually going to leave those open to actually allow the egg to cook and release the steam. So you're actually going to be reserving this for the part where you're actually going to be serving the dish. So very, very simply, once done, grab a piece of lemon and just squeeze right over your peppers. And do the same thing for the other one. Knocking down against your table, of course, allowing your lemon juice to sink right to the very bottom. And now all you're going to do now is transfer this to your oven. Remember, at this particular stage, very important to mention that you should actually have an oven that's already preheated. So very, very simply, just line your baking tray with a bit of some aluminum foil or some wax paper, and proceed to just add those onto the film, and finish off by just seasoning with a bit of some black pepper. and small pinch of salt. And this can now go into your oven for anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes, but very important to continue checking on them because you're actually going to start to see them puff up quite a bit. So very, very important to keep your eyes peeled. So these are just going to slide into the oven now. Of course, always making sure to remember to calibrate your temperature to the right degree, making sure as well also that your top and bottom element are both functioning and that your timer is set to the correct cooking time. And while we leave those cooking, we're going to take a short break and refresh. And when we come back, we're going to go straight to the plating and I'll show you how the finished product looks like. So thank you for so much for tuning in and see you after a short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who were with us just before we took the break, we were just finishing off our Southwestern Rice Stuffed Pepper, and we're just about to take them out of the oven now. They've actually been going for anywhere between 15 to 18 minutes, so not 20 as we had actually said earlier. And we're just about to take them out, so I'm just going to slide that pan out of the oven. And we can just rest that over the grill top. And those are looking nice and golden right at the top, and as you can be able to see from the cameras there, nice beautiful golden shiny on the top ends there. So those are now perfectly ready to serve. So we're going to just proceed straight on to plating, and all you're going to need to do is just move those onto a plate. Of course, using a pair of tongs or any kind of lifter that you may have that will do the job just fine. And once that's done, of course, always very important to have a bit of a garnish for your dish. So I'm actually going to just slice some lemon wedges. And of course, discard the seeds. Always important to take the seeds out, very unpleasant to serve them to your guests. And very, very simply, remember the leaves we had actually cut out earlier. You can just proceed to add those right over the top. And very simply, using a bit of some toothpicks. I particularly like to use this as a garnish. Just prick your toothpick about in a diagonal angle to your pepper. And pretty much do the same thing for the other piece, and you can just proceed to slide those onto the side like that, and probably find the thickest part of your pepper, and if it won't hold, just prick it right over the top, and that should present to be a very, very simple lunch for you and your family. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope you've had some fun watching what we've done today. And I hope you're now feeling a little happier about watching the show and about learning something you may actually do in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Chef Andy, and until the next episode where we continue to show you more ways with rice, thank you so much for tuning in, and God bless.